Alright, today we're going to take apart a Galaxy S4. I'm going to speed this part up a little bit to take out the battery. And then there are 9 screws around the back side of the phone. Amazon usually has some pretty cheap parts, so I'll try to list those in the video description. Things like the charging port, the camera, the screen. Amazon usually sells, part by part. Anyway, once you get the screws out, this little bottom plastic piece comes out. Just kind of pry it with a little non-marring tool, and then the piece itself pops out. This is the rear speaker. And then make sure you grab your SIM card out, because the back housing won't come apart with the SIM card still in place. Remove your SD card as well, if you have one. And then the screen comes loose from the back housing. Around the edge you'll see a small groove between the back and the front panel, and you can kind of just take your non-marring tool and kind of slide it between. You'll hear a bunch of little clicks as it snaps apart. Kind of pry really gently, and then the back housing will come away. And here you have the inside of the Galaxy S4. There's one screw holding the motherboard down. It's different than all the rest of the screws. It's black. The other 9 screws are silver. There are 5 ribbon cables around the back side. There's that one. The first one holds the screen. This one's going down to the charging port. And then there's this one right here to the camera, and another one to the light sensor. And this one right here to the audio port. Then there are 2 wire cables also on. Be careful when you're unclipping these. If you bend the little head on them, it could make it so that your phone doesn't get reception anymore. One of them's for the antenna. Anyway, wiggle the camera just a little bit to make sure it's not stuck in the little square groove underneath it, but don't pull it out because it is wired to the back of the motherboard. When you're putting the motherboard off, just kind of wiggle it loose. And then this is the little camera slot that I was talking about before. To get rid of that, it's just like the other ribbon cables, just pop it out. And then to put it back in, it's just like a little Lego. You just kind of like snap it in place. It's super easy. Just click, and that's it. So the audio port and the sensors can all be removed and replaced just by taking apart those 2 little screws. Now we're going to work on getting the charging port removed. So I'm going to take these 2 wire cables and kind of pull them down just a little bit. The part that goes up to the motherboard comes in 2 pieces. So it's attached, and then there's a little bit of glue, and then you can just kind of separate them just like that. And you do need to separate them to be able to remove the charging port. The charging port is glued down, so very, very gently pry between the back of the screen and the circuit board, and it'll come apart. Just kind of, get the glue just a little bit away. And then there's a little metal bracket that's sitting on top of the charging port, just like that. And so snap that off, and then the whole charging port should come away from the back housing. And I'll put the part for the charging port down in the video description as well. So if your charging port goes out, it's very easily replaced if you don't have insurance. Usually the part's only like 10 or 15 bucks. It's not that bad. Check the video description for that. Anyway, putting the charging port back in, just going to tack it in place, let the glue reposition itself. If you don't have glue, that's fine too. The rest of the screws will hold it in place. Put the little metal bracket back on as well. Feed the motherboard underneath the ribbon cables, making sure that all the ribbon cables are on top of the motherboard so they can clip down into place. And the hardest part about this is just making sure all the cables line up again. So I'm snapping in this wire cable, and the wire cables fit down inside a little groove. You can kind of see me pushing it in right there. And then clipping the wire cable back onto the little hole that it came from. And you can see how easy it is to clip these wire cables back into place. So I did one right there, another one here, You'll fill them quick in just like Legos. Another here, here, and the last one, the audio port right there. Pretty simple. Make sure you get that screw back into the motherboard. The only black screw. Just kind of screw it in, I guess. Make sure the camera clicks into the groove below it. And there you go. Put the back housing back on. And then you'll hear a series of very small clicks as you kind of like, click it all back into place. Going all the way around, making sure each part of it is snug. Squeeze really tight against each other. Back speaker just clicks on. And then all the screws hold it all into place. So take the 9 screws and screw them all back in around the outside. And remember, I'll try to get all the parts, the back housing and the back speaker. I'll list those in the video description below, so you can find those on Amazon. Put your SIM card in place, pop the battery in there, put the back on the phone, and there you go. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if it helped you. I'd like to know how many people that it helps. And don't forget to subscribe. You can click below to subscribe, and don't forget to check the video description for all the replacement parts on Amazon. Amazon usually is the cheapest place and the most efficient place to get parts. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching.